In the run-up to the UK election, we want to use this time to take you through our oral health manifesto point by point. We hope that policymakers take this opportunity to brush up on their oral health knowledge so that they can better equip the country with what it needs. Right now we're focusing on the sugar tax and also junk food advertising. We are very passionate about watching how much sugar you have, watching out for free sugars, being more aware of the things you eat and drink, and so this is a no-brainer really for us to add to this list.
Totally. I mean, what we're talking about here is the soft drinks industry levy. That's the official name for it. We often call it the sugar tax. I think that's what
the sugary drinks tax. Yeah.
Sugary drinks tax. That's what we kind of say. Now, part of the problem is there are quite a few exemptions in the current soft drinks industry levy. So not many people are aware of these exemptions. So if you are getting a milk-based drink, they can contain a lot of sugar. There is no tax on that. So whilst you're having it, that's your choice. But the manufacturers are not being taxed on that amount of sugar, which means there isn't any incentive for them to lower the sugar in it, which is what happened when the first one came in. There was a real effort on the manufacturer's behalf where they tried to reduce the sugar, because the less sugar that was in it, the less tax they paid, which is a win-win. So when we look at said milk-based drinks, high street coffee shops are exempt too, which I was really shocked when I found it. Now, we have had a look at some of these coffee shop drinks, and some of them have more than the daily adult recommended amount of sugar. You know, it doesn't take a genius to work out that it's too much. I mean, that is too much.
If you gave someone that amount of sugar on a plate and said, eat it, they'd be like,
exactly,
what's wrong with you? Absolutely not. But they'll drink it.
Yeah. And that's the problem, isn't it? That you're kind of having a bit of a crisis of conscience, really, isn't it? You know, I'm having that much sugar. But again, if you did that, you would kind of the manufacturers again would look at the amount of sugar in things, and you know, coffee's coffee, fine. Milk, we know, has natural sugars in it. That's fine. It's when you start putting syrups and other sugary things in them that, you know, these high street coffee shops tend to have seasonal drinks, don't they, that are really, really packed. And you're putting cream on the top, and I would dread to think the amount of calories. You probably at least a meal's worth in a coffee, at least.
Easily, yeah.
And do people have more than one of these a day? I don't know.
I mean, probably. I mean, I'll be honest, I love a syrup in a coffee, but I do try and get ones that are sugar-free. So the one that I frequent have sugar-free hazelnut syrups.
Okay, well, if you can do that, ideal, opt out. But again, what we need to do is close these loopholes and implement the levy across the board. No exceptions, no exceptions. This is it. You know, we want to look at banning junk food advertising when children can see it. I know there has been steps, but again, there are exemptions. It's like little loopholes that the manufacturers find and they exploit. But if we can get across the board levy and across the board advertising bans, it will make not just the general public think about what they're putting in their bodies, but it will also, the manufacturers, as I said before, when the sugary drinks tax came in first, there was a huge reduction in the amount of sugar in the drinks. Shows that they can do it. It shows it can be done. So why aren't they doing it? Because they've got this loophole. So if we could close that, brilliant. Even better, that the revenue generated by these measures should go on to fund education and oral health campaigns. That would be the ideal.
Perfect. That'd be perfect.
In this perfect world
Yeah.
that we're going to have
Of course.
after the election.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that would be ideal, and I don't think it's too much to ask. It's a case of going, right, if the thing that you produce contains X amount of sugar, you're going to be taxed on it. If you are selling fast stroke junk food, you are going to be taxed on it, or you're going to have a ban of advertising in certain places where certain people who may be overly influenced. I mean, don't get me wrong, we all, have takeaway or fast food or whatever at some points, but it's like with everything, it's everything in moderation, isn't it? And we don't want to encourage people who are perhaps more susceptible to thinking that that is a healthy way of eating, because it's not. And I think people do genuinely believe some of the advertising when they say, oh, well, it's just the finest chicken or whatever. But, what have you done to it?
But the main takeaway from there should be that we want to close all the loopholes with the
Yeah.
sugar tax levy and the advertising bans, and really crack down on sugar, getting tough on sugar. Read the full manifesto on our website and get in touch with your local councillor to see what they're planning to do to improve the oral health in your area. Next time we're focusing on progressive smoking age legislation.